It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by SureHold, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, SureHold has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. ShipShape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ShipShape means trouble-free. ShipShape means being neater. ShipShape makes boat work easier. ShipShape is the way to go. The ShipShape Boat Gear Show.
ShipShape, South Florida's only boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by Boat Owners Warehouse, Everything Marine, and by Cable Marine, where our qualified people make the difference, and by RPM Diesel Engine Company, much more than an engine company, and by Yacht Interiors by Shelley. When extra is needed, extra is given.
Thanks for tuning in to ShipShape, the boat improvement show. I'm John Greviskis, and this is my partner, Bertel.
Howdy, folks.
We're on location today in Riviera Beach, Florida, at Larry Smith Electronics.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the GPS.
We're going to look at some of the newest technologies in GPSs, as well as how the GPS actually works. Now, if there's some suggestion for a project that you'd like to see us cover here at ShipShape, here's your opportunity to get involved.
Write your project suggestions to ShipShape, the TV show. Attention Project Director, Post Office Box 31561, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida 33420. Or fax us at area code 407-626-4348.
We'll even throw in a free t-shirt if we use your suggestion on the show. But right now we need to hear a word from our sponsors. So stick around, because when we come back, we'll introduce you to Don Carson from Larry Smith Electronics.
Don't drift away. ShipShape will be right back.
When it's time to clean up those nasty, dirty, grungy dock lines, then it's time for you to pick up today the new rope and cord brush from SureHold Industries. The adjustable, flexible design easily wraps around half-inch to 1-inch, twisted or braided ropes, power cords, garden or bilge hoses, even your stainless steel rub rails. Use the might of this new brush with the cleaning power of SureHold's SMC cleaner. Simply soak, then brush, sparkling clean. So get scrubbing today.
I'd like to introduce you to Don Carson from Larry Smith Electronics. Don, thanks so much for having us out here today.
Oh, it's our pleasure, John.
Now, Don, the reason we're out here is we've had a tremendous amount of faxes and letters from people that wanted us to cover some of the electronics on the market, in particular the GPS.
Okay.
But Don, I wanted to kind of maybe get a history of how the GPS got here.
Okay, well, let's start out with the Loran-A, which was the first radio navigation device.
Now, that's this piece of equipment up here.
Yeah, that's correct. That's this one.
Okay.
And what this system basically was for, it was developed during World War II for navigation of our bombers and fighter aircraft in Europe and of course, here in the U.S. as well. And it was a land-based radio navigation system, offering a range typically of 100 miles, let's say, off of the coast. So strictly a coastwise type navigation system, and of course over land as well.
So the government set up towers along the coastline for that navigation, is that correct?
That's correct, yes. They were set up basically all around the coast of the whole U.S. and through most of Europe as well. Of course, during the war, they put it on ships that were anchored and used them to help navigate, let's say, fleets into battle and that sort of thing. And then they would take them away when they were done. But it was a very limited system. It was subject to static electricity, atmospheric noise from thunderstorms, things of that nature. So it was obviously, it was better than no navigation at all, but it wasn't, definitely wasn't the end answer for navigation of ships by any means.
Now, there's a little story behind the Loran-A, is that correct, with Larry Smith Electronics?
Yeah, that's true. Mr. Smith Sr., who started our company, developed the civilian version of a military Loran. He bought these surplus military Lorans and converted them into, civilian operable units. They were installed on trawlers, on fishing vessels, that sort of thing, and even some pleasure boats as well. That's basically what founded our company, was the Loran-A.
That's a great story.
Yeah, it was real interesting. There's still quite a few of those units out. As a matter of fact, the one that's in the Enola Gay, the B-29 in the Smithsonian Museum, is one of Mr. Smith's Lorans that he had worked on years back.
That's really neat. Now, is that system still in place?
No, the Loran-A system was turned off in 1980. It was replaced at that time by the Loran-C system.
Okay.
And
now you have a North Star 6000, which is the Loran-C, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. This is still a functional operable system. As a matter of fact, this is still a functional unit as well. The Loran-C was, of course, like the Loran-A at the time. It was a very hard system to operate. Loran-A was difficult. The early Loran-Cs were very difficult as well. You had to really spend a lot of time in the manual and be very electronically literate to operate one of these units. This unit was the first one that was made available that you could actually take out of the box and show somebody how to operate in an hour and expect some success out of it.
Okay.
It was really a user-friendly unit, and it was something that the average guy could afford to buy, put on his boat, and expect to have some success using.
Now, would you still get the interference that you had with the Loran-A?
No, these units operated at a different frequency levels. It was substantially lower frequency, and as a result, they weren't as subject to atmospheric interference. There still was problems during thunderstorms, but not to the level that Loran-A had. Loran-A was extremely sensitive for that. Loran-C was a step in the right direction. It was a much bigger improvement in sensitivity.
Again, a coastline situation?
Coastline situation on that.
Transmitters located on the coast?
Yes.
Now, would you still have that range of like 50 to 100 miles off the coastline?
That's correct, yes. The range was not extremely long by any means. It was a substantially more accurate system. Loran-A, you could expect accuracies of about 1/8 of a mile in any given direction, which is not real good, as you can well see. Loran-C, if you have a system that's tuned up properly and the conditions are good atmospherically, you can get accuracies of 20 to 30 feet with them.
Really?
Not down here so much, because we don't have good Loran signals even on under good conditions. But in the Northeast, like let's say Virginia, Maryland, those areas, even up into New York and stuff, there's very good signal strength up there, and therefore you can get good fixes off of them.
Don, what would you use past that range of 50 to 100 miles?
Well, back during the days of Loran-A, the only alternative you had was celestial navigation, of course using a sextant and sighting off the stars. Along in the early 70s, the SatNav system was developed, and that it was geared strictly at offshore navigation worldwide.
Sat meaning satellite?
Yes.
And nav meaning?
Navigator.
Navigator,
Yeah,
okay.
okay, and what that system was, essentially it worked off of a single flyover of a satellite over any given point of the Earth. There were 8 satellites in orbit around the Earth, so any place on the surface of the Earth would get passed over by a satellite, say every 1 to 3 hours, roughly. It could be as long as 5 or 6, though, at times.
Okay.
The satellite navigator would pick up the signal from the satellite, and it could calculate a position based on the Doppler shift of the satellite signal through the atmosphere.
Now, is that, again, on a radio wave?
Yeah, it was a UHF signal. It was not a tremendously accurate system, but it did work worldwide, so that was a big breakthrough. You could be in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and figure your position within about a quarter of a mile, which is not bad. For that time frame, it was certainly a big improvement over a sextant.
Sure. Now, you could not run blind on that system, though.
Absolutely not. Typically, you could figure on getting a fix every 1 to 3 hours, which meant between that time you had no idea really where you were other than by dead reckoning, which can obviously throw you off considerably if you have an error in your calculations.
Now, when did GPS come into existence?
Well, GPS came into existence it was first thought of in the 80s to replace the SatNav system. And GPS at this point became operational in 1993. It became fully operational, I believe, last year. And now there's 26 satellites supporting the GPS system.
What's the different premise? You had 8 satellites with the SatNav, And you have 26?
26 with GPS.
26
yes.
with GPS. What's the difference in that?
Well, the SatNav satellites were ones that actually orbited the surface of the Earth. And so consequently, one would come into view, fly overhead, and then pass over the horizon again. The GPS satellites are geosynchronous satellites, much like your satellite TV systems. The satellite always stays in one location relative to the Earth's surface. So on any given point of the Earth's surface, you'll have 4 to 5 satellites in view all the time for GPS.
So that means you're getting different reference points.
Absolutely. Better accuracy as well.
Can you show us that a little bit more in depth?
Absolutely.
Let's take a look.
Okay. John, we were talking about the 150 to 300 feet of variation in the GPS signals. Let me show you why that is.
Okay.
Okay, basically we have a constellation of, say, 4 satellites that are in view at any given time. It can be as many as 5 or 6, though. They're broadcasting signals down to your vessel. This is, of course, computed by your GPS receiver and gives you a position. But the signals are scrambled slightly by the government.
Why?
Reason being is for national security. If they have too accurate a signal coming out, then any country can use it to launch missiles with and get pinpoint accuracy. If they scramble the signal slightly, it loses the accuracy on the final destination.
That makes sense. When you're talking about 150 to 300 feet off from the launch site, that would throw a missile off by thousands of miles.
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
okay,
that's the reasoning behind it.
So with GPS, even though you have the accuracy of 150 to 300 feet off, you can run great during the day. How do you run blind?
Well, the only way to run blind right now with any degree of success is going to be with differential GPS.
Now, how does that work?
Well, essentially it uses the same GPS satellites just like a GPS receiver would. But on top of that, there's a second receiver in the unit which receives a land-based signal broadcast from the coastline. And that signal is an error correction message which takes the inaccuracy built into the GPS scrambling out and gives you accuracies of say 9 to 15 feet.
Well, that's great. We need to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to look at some of the GPS technology available on the market as well as some of the prices, so stick around.
Don't drift off. ShipShape will be right back.
Give your prized items a better-than-new look with SureHold Buff Magic. This buffing compound works as a metal polish and rubbing compound for your boat, car, and other home equipment. Buff Magic is specifically formulated to remove oxidation and surface defects, restore that quality showroom shine, and provide a deep, rich finish in one easy step. Proudly made in the USA, SureHold Buff Magic is the ultimate restoration compound. SureHold. Clean and simple.
This is an impressive GPS. Does it have the differential as well?
Yes, this does. It has a built-in differential receiver along with the GPS receiver.
Don, I was hoping you could kind of give us a GPS 101 lesson here. Can you just give us the basics?
Sure, I'd be glad to. This unit right here we're looking at has, well, right now we're looking at the navigation screen, which gives you your basic navigational information, your latitude, longitude, speed over ground, and course over ground.
But we're not moving.
Well, that's actually indicative of the scrambling of the satellites. Even with the differential, we still have a little inaccuracy, and that causes these readings of 1/10 or 2/10 of a mile an hour, and the variation in your course, even though we're sitting still. It's substantially worse when you're using a non-differential GPS. The speeds can vary up to 4 or 5 miles an hour, believe it or not.
Wow.
So you can see there's a big improvement by running the differential versus not.
Well, what are some different features that this thing has?
Well, this unit has the ability to display your position on a chart. You can see that's us located on the chart here.
That's impressive.
And of course, there's our latitude, longitude lines as they cross
Right.
in the intercoastal waterway over here. Were we moving, there would be a trail left behind the boat here of our course over the ground. And it will show you your actual track. If you swerve, it shows the swerves in the track and all that. It's quite impressive, actually. If we were navigating to a particular point, known as a waypoint, it would show a line between us and the point we're steering to. It would show our course along that line, and it would give you an estimated time of arrival at the present speed that you're going at.
Now, does this have all the different day markers as well as...
Yes, on these charts they do. The day markers, the shoals, virtually any kind of major navigation device, lighthouses, et cetera, et cetera. And
Now, how does the chart get into this thing?
the chart on these is contained in this little housing here.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and this is just essentially a small, what they call a RAM chart cartridge.
That's kind of like a little floppy on your computer.
Almost, yeah. These are just an integrated circuit chip, like a memory chip in a computer, that has the information programmed into it at the factory, and you just insert it in, and the information's available for use by the machine.
Now, how much information is contained on one of these little cartridges?
This particular one covers from Hobe Sound to Miami. Okay, they can cover as far as, you know, the whole coastline in
Right.
very loose detail, or in very, very minute detail. You can cover just one small harbor, depending on the level of detail you wanted to have.
Price-wise, what are we talking about for one of the cartridges?
They range from about $149 up to about $395, depending on the detail level and the area.
Are they the only people that make them? Or?
No, there's another company, CMAP, that makes a charting system very similar to this. Their prices are about the same. They're both very competitive with each other. Certain machines support one, certain support the other, but I haven't found either one of them to be, you know, one better than the other. I think they just have their applications in both areas.
Price-wise, what are we talking about on the whole line of GPS?
Well, they range, this would be like the Cadillac of GPS, essentially, and they start out at about $199, and then go up to something like this, which could be $3,500, $4,000, somewhere in that area.
Wow. Well, can we take a look at one of those $199 units?
Sure, be glad to. This is one right here, the Magellan 2000. That's your
This
$199.
is the handheld GPS that so many people are talking about.
That's correct, yeah. That's a pocket-sized unit that you can take with you anywhere.
Now, what are some of the features that come with this model?
Well, this unit gives you the ability, of course, to have your latitude, longitude, your course over ground, speed over ground, and the ability to plug in a position and navigate to it, a waypoint. And that's really about all. I mean, it's a very, very basic unit. It's just made for essential navigation functions, and that's all.
So for the weekend boater, this is more than adequate.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's something that you can take with you in your boat and, you know, go out, navigate to wherever you need to go, come back, and expect to get there and back without any problems.
Don, what's the next step up?
Next step up from there would be something like the Meridian XL, which gives you all the features of the 2000, plus some graphical abilities for navigation. Like this screen here, we have our boat located here and some waypoints. Now, if we were navigating towards them, it would show us, you know, our course towards those. So it's not quite a plotter, but almost.
How much more?
These are about $100 more.
Okay.
And they also have the ability to connect up to, for example, an autopilot to help steer the boat. So that's kind of a nice feature if you're into, you know, any of that sort of thing.
Wow. Well, there's really a lot to the GPS. And Don, I just thank you for the history that you've given us today and for all the information. And thanks for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. You guys are welcome back anytime.
Chapman's Corner is brought to you by Chapman School of Seamanship.
Today on Chapman's Corner, we want to show you how to utilize your VHF radio to get boating weather information. First thing I'm going to do is turn on my VHF radio, and it automatically goes to channel 16. Next thing I need to do is to locate my weather priority button. And on this particular set, it's indicated by the letters P/W. So I'm going to hit that button. Now I need to enter a weather channel for my locale. And in this case, in the United States, it's either channel 1, 2, or 3. I enter channel 3, and now I turn up the volume, and I'll get both local and offshore marine weather forecast. And this is updated every 6 to 8 hours by the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration.
Northwest wind at 20. Fort Lauderdale 57 northwest wind at 22, gusting to 32 miles an hour.
From Chapman School of Seamanship, this is Tom Dante.
I'm at Harbortown Marina in Dania, Florida, at one of the West Trek marinas, and I'm with Gary Oviatt, the owner of Oviatt Marine. Gary, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me, John.
Now, we're going to be looking at what boat today, Gary?
This is a 50-foot ocean sport fish named Fancy Free.
Can you tell us a little bit about the boat?
Yes, it's a 1983 vessel powered by 871 TIs, 690 horsepower each.
Now, this is a 1983 vessel?
That's correct.
She looks brand new.
Well, it's in exceptional condition.
Okay. Now, the engines, how many hours are on them?
These engines have just had a major overhauls. They've got about 40 hours. The overhauls cost about $30,000.
Okay. Now, Gary, it looks like this boat is really set up to fish. Tell us about that.
Okay, she's very well equipped. She has triple spreader outriggers with bridge release, a Murray fighting chair, complete tackle center with bait freezer and cutting boards and sink.
Okay. So if you enjoy fishing, this is the perfect boat for you.
That's correct.
Now, how about the interior?
This boat particularly appeals to women. It's a 3-stateroom vessel with beautiful woodwork throughout. It has an L-shaped settee in the salon with an electric wet bar and a very nice galley, which is a couple of steps down from the salon.
Well, it's very spacious. You have a lot of room on this boat. How many people will this boat actually sleep?
She'll comfortably sleep 8.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about that master stateroom. Now, that looks like an island queen.
That's correct. It's
okay.
kind of an unusual setup for a sport fisherman in that it does have a walk-around island queen, and there's an ensuite head and shower in the master stateroom.
That's nice. Now, can you tell us about the other 2 staterooms?
Yes, one of the guest staterooms has a lower double for couples, and the other has an upper and lower berth situation, which appeals to kids or singles.
How's the boat laid out electronically? What kind of electronics are on it?
She's well equipped. It has a GPS navigation system, autopilot, several radios, VHF, single sideband, and depth finders, of course, rudder angle indicator, most of the equipment that you would need to go fishing with.
Price, what are we talking about for this vessel?
This is an exceptionally good value at $249, particularly considering the fact that it's just had a $30,000 major overhaul.
Now, where can people come by and preview this boat?
This boat is at our docks at Harbortown Marina in Dania, Florida.
Okay. Now, what's this about your Oviatt Offshore Cruiser magazine that you put out, Gary?
Well, I just happen to have a copy of one of our magazines. We have hundreds of boats listed in here, and pretty accurate and complete descriptions of each vessel.
Now, how can people get this magazine, Gary?
They can call my office and we'll put you on the mailing list. The number is 305-925-0065.
Now, this is the week of the Miami Boat Show. Are you participating?
Yes, we'll be in a booth at the Design Center at the Convention Hall, and we'll also have 2 boats in the brokerage show on Collins Avenue.
Fantastic. Gary, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today, for looking at this beautiful 50-foot vessel. It's really set up to fish. And how about if we do this? Take me out there and let's see if we can catch something.
Well, let's try it.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, John.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show.
And when thoroughly explained, any piece of electronic equipment can be a piece of cake to use.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
See ya.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. Ship shape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ship shape means trouble-free. Ship shape means being neater. Ship shape makes boats